Okay, hi, we're going to be continuing on with iOS app extensions today. And today we're going to be focusing a little bit on what is it called? The extension context, as well as going through share extensions. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, sorry. Okay. App extension. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the first thing I want to look at today is the extension context. And it's something we covered a little bit last time, but didn't really get into enough detail on. So context equal extension context. Okay. So an extension context is a NX extension context, and it returns the extension context for the view controller. View controller can check this property to see if it participates in an extension request. If no extension request is set for the current view controller, the system walks up the view controller hierarchy to find a parent view controller that does not have a nil extension context value. So let's take a look at what is available with extension context. Context. When a host app sends a request to an app extension, it provides an extension context. So basically any app that opens a extension app, such as like a share extension or an action extension, that passes along this context so that it has more information that the extension can use to then do something useful. For many app extensions, the most important part of the context is the data the user wants to work with, which is contained in the input items property. So let's take a look at input items. The list of input NS extension item objects associated with the context. So a context has an array of NS extension item objects. Let's take a look at NS extension item. An immutable collection of values representing different aspects of an item for an extension to act upon. So an immutable collection of values representing different aspects of an item for an extension to act upon. Okay, and one of those things that I found the most useful is its array of attachments, an optional array of media data associated with the extension item. So let me show you kind of a simple way to go about this. So we're in our extension, and we're going to assume that we have an extension context here. And in that context, we want to pull out the extension context items. So we'll just get the first one. That item equal context dot okay, yeah, we're just pulling the first out here. So let item equal context dot input items dot first So that should be an optional item. So we'll actually just add this to our guard statement. So now we have a NS extension item. Oh, and these are any. So we're gonna cast it to as NS extension item. And then in our NS extension item, we can check to see we'll call this actually extension item. And then we're going to say let item equal extension. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, we're going to get the attachments now. So then we're going to get those media attachments. So let attachments equal extension item dot. Fortunately, doing it in the guard, we lose code completion. So I'm going to do it outside of the guard for now. Extension item dot attachments. And again, this is of type any. We'll say let. We'll just get our first. Actually, we'll just make this our first attachment. First attachment. And we'll say dot first. And then we want to get the item provider out of that attachment. So in our attachment, we're going to say our content item equals first attachment dot oh, okay, I'm sorry. So this is actually doing it in 2 steps. So let's content item first attachments first as NS item provider. Okay, cool. So let's break this down. What's happening here? We are getting the view controller's extension context. We are then getting the input items, the first of the array of input items as an NS extension item. And then that NS extension item has an array of attachments, collection of attachments to it, which can be of type any. But we're looking for attachments that are NS item providers. And then we can do whatever we need to do on our item provider. So we can check if it can load an object of type, we can load an object of type, and all the other things that we've done in the past. So that's the basic breakdown of how that works. Today we are going to keep moving on, and we're going to do a share extension. And a share extension is basically when you have some content that from any app that you want to then share with your server. So if it's if you have like a photo blogging app and you have an image or a collection of images in the Photos app and you want to share that up to your server, that's how you can do that. So it's another type of app extension. So we're going to go to back on our birdwatching app. we're going to go over here. We're going to add a new type. We're going to add a share extension. We'll call it bird share, and we'll leave it in our project, and we're going to embed it in our Birdwatcher application. And let's see what we get with, oh yeah, so we don't make the same mistake as last time. We are going to add BirdKit. BirdKit is the framework we've been building, just a toy framework, but we need to add that to our extension. So BirdKit framework, add, and that's all you have to do. So now we'll have access to our entire BirdKit framework in the share extension. So let's clean this up a little bit. And we have our bird share right here. Let's see what we get. Now, action and share extensions have a lot of things in common. So we'll start with the info plist. And if you remember from last time, in the info plist, Edis extension attributes dictionary has the same keys as last time. This is basically allowing you to tell the system what types of content you accept. Do you accept text? Do you accept images? And then there's also rules that you can do to how many videos, images, or how many pieces of content can you accept? Can you accept one picture only, up to 3? So if the user is trying to if the user selects 4 pictures and wants to upload it to our service and we can't handle that, we can say we just accept 3. But we'll come back to that later. So that's very similar to the last lesson. We get a storyboard with a view controller. Not much added to it. And a share view controller, which is of type SL Compose Service View Controller. Now this is a really handy class that comes built in and does a lot of the sharing functionality for you. It does things like it has methods to show a preview of your share content. It can accept text, where you can input text about the upload. And it can even do things like show character count, like on Twitter, like how many characters you have left. So if you're just doing a relatively straightforward extension, you could just go ahead and use this class, or you can provide your own view controller and do everything yourself. So for this lesson and for this series, we're just going to be sticking with the SL Compose Service View Controller. So we get a couple methods. Is content valid? This basically let you return either true or false here to say if your share extension is ready to post. We have did select posts. So this is after the user taps the post button. This gets called, and this is where you do all your logic to upload all the data to your server. And then when you're done, actually, you don't have to wait for everything to finish, but once you've called the networking request to upload things to your server, you call the extension context complete request. Then you can pass in configuration items, which are basically table view cells that you can add to the bottom of your share sheet, so users can tap to make selections and to configure things. So we'll get into these, but let's start off just by running a default implementation of this thing and just see what it looks like. So we have our bird share scheme selected. I'm going to run it in the simulator, and then you get to choose an app that you want to test it out from. We're just going to choose photos to start. Okay, so fired up a simulator. We're going to select one photo. Got it. I'm going to choose hit the built-in share button, and there you can see our bird share extension. So we'll click that, and then you get the standard system UI where you can cancel, you can post, you can see a preview, and then we can type in whatever we want that will go up to our bird share server. If you click cancel, it's going to cancel out of it for you. And if you click post, that's when didSelectPost will get called. So a couple things I can quickly show you. If we return false here, get rid of choose bird share. If you return false, post becomes disabled and you can't tap it. So you can basically add validation rules to make sure you have certain type. You can add like a certain amount of text, not too much text, not including certain words. Whatever your validation rules are, you can use those and then use that to determine if you're going to return true or false from here. So let's start with an example of that. So one property on the SL Compose Service View Controller is content text, and that comes out of that little preview box. And you can get a characters count. So basically we can say, if there is more than 0 characters and less than 30, then we're valid. Otherwise, we're not valid. Let's quickly look at that. You guys can probably guess what happens here. Okay, share. All right, so we are now disabled because we're not greater than 0. And then now we are greater than 0 amount of characters, so we can type away. And then as soon as we go over 30, it disables again. So that's how that works. And then there's another property on this thing. This thing is really useful. It's called characters remaining. And that is, again, a property that's an NS number on SL Compose Service View Controller. Number of characters remaining in a custom character limit. So if you do provide this information to the system, you will get like a little, like Twitter has basically, where you can see how many characters left you have to type. So you can see the bottom left corner here, we have 30 right now. And as we type, it'll go down. And then as soon as we get below 0, or actually as soon as we hit 0, the characters turn red. And this is all for free, as long as you pass in an NS number of how many characters the user has left. So that's pretty awesome. And again, this is a property on the view controller, and content text is a property on the view controller that you can get access to determine how many characters left they have to type into the box. Okay. What else can we look at here? Oh, there's another thing. So if you don't want to use this default view right here, like if you have some kind of custom data or a custom view that you want to show, you can override this preview view right here. And so let's do that. Load preview view. So we have to return a view to the system that's going to go in place of that box. So for now, we'll just add, let's add a label. So we'll just add a simple label, no constraints or anything, just keep it really simple. It'll be okay then. So let's run that. And then we have to return the label. Okay, there we go. So again, we're going to share a picture. And this time, in place of the preview view, we just threw in our own custom view. And this could be anything. This is whatever subclass of UI view you want to create and just pass back to the system. They will show it for you right here. So that's kind of nice. And again, load preview view is a method on SL Compose Service View Controller. So did select post. So what you want to do in did select post is you want to take all the information that you've collected up from the user about this sharing thing. So you want to probably take your content text, and again, we can get the attachments based on the extension context. So we can pull out all of the stuff that came over from the extension context and bundle all that up and then post that off to our server. And what you're going to want to do is you're not going to want to just use a standard NSURL session. You're going to have to configure it to run in the background, because your extension is going to be, it's not going to get very much time. As soon as you hit this post button and you return by hitting complete request, your upload might take, I mean, these might be some large images or videos. Your process is going to probably be killed before your upload is finished. And if you're not using a background session, then you're probably not going to get all your data up to the server. So just make sure to do we're going to cover this in a future lesson, but it's not hard, an SURL session, background session for posting your content. And as soon as you call that, you don't want to wait for it to complete. You want to call complete request immediately, and that will send the user back to the app from which they came. And then finally down here is this configuration items. And let's see if we can quickly find a good view of iOS app share extension. See if we can quickly find a good example of one. No, that is not one. Sorry about that. This is a little more work to put in right now than we have time for today, but we will get to it. Let's just see. Oh, okay. Here's an example. So you see here in this tutorial's share extension, this is like the part that we worked on already. This is that content that you add for the share. And then if you want to add additional items that you can select and configure, they get passed in as table view cells down below the share extension. And you can add several of those. And you can also add, so when the user taps that, you can present a view controller where they can select an option, and then that information will be passed back to you that you can then use to bundle everything up to share to your share server. So this part right here is determined by passing back an array of SL Compose share sheet configuration items right here. So we're not going to get to that today, as I mentioned, but that is how you add that bit of affordance right there. And that's it. So just to quickly recap, you can determine if the content is valid and whether that post button should be enabled or disabled. If you are passing back in a characters remaining, a value, an NS number into characters remaining, it will display the characters remaining in the lower left-hand corner for you. If you want to override the preview, which is normally the image, you can do that here. But obviously this is just dummy text, so I'm going to comment it out for now. When the user hits post, that's when this method is going to get called, and you do your NSURL session, background session to post all the content to your server. And you can get that information from the extension context extension items, like we reviewed in the beginning. You call extension context complete request. When you're finished, the user returns to the containing app. And if you want to add affordances to the bottom of your preview widget, then you return an array of SL Compose Sheet configuration items here. And we set our extension activation rules here, just like we did last time with the action controller. So you can allow it to do text, video, photos, and you can control the number of photos and videos. Okay, thanks a lot. And I'm not sure next time if we're going to continue with share extensions. For me, I think I'm at the point where I'm pretty comfortable with it, so I may just decide to move on, or we may wrap up next time. Okay, thanks a lot.